Ever thought about how hobbies, they aren't really static. They change, they grow, sometimes they explode and then kind of splinter off. Today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at the really fascinating journey of the radio-controlled or RC hobby community. We're going to unpack this surprising story of how the, let's say, average age of an RC fan has swung back and forth over the decades. We're using insights from tinkers to teenagers and back again. A decadal analysis of the RC hobbyist community and the Tamiya effect, 1945-2025.
Yeah, and what's really key here, the main thing driving these shifts, it's always been the barrier to entry. How complex is the tech? How much does it cost? Can you actually get the stuff easily? So this deep dive, it should help you understand the why behind it all. From those early technical types right up to today's drone racers and nostalgic adults coming back to it.
Okay, so let's start right back there then. What did that first wave of RC hobbyists look like, say, after World War II? Was it just a casual thing people did?
Oh, not at all. Far from casual. Back in the origins, like 1945 up to maybe 75, RC was serious stuff, highly technical. The early gear used vacuum tubes. A lot of it was homemade, self-built. You really needed to understand aerodynamics, electronics, mechanics, the whole package, just to get started. Imagine the headache if just one little tube failed.
Wow, okay. So that barrier to entry you mentioned.
Sky high, absolutely. Which meant, naturally, it was a hobby for older adults, people with technical skills.
Yeah.
The estimate is typically around 35 to 55 years old.
Right. And then you mentioned in 1976, Tamiya enters the scene. That sounds like a real turning point. What did they do differently?
Oh, absolutely pivotal. Tamiya's whole approach, their philosophy, it was revolutionary for RC, basically. Easy to understand a build, even for beginners. They took really complex engineering. It just made it accessible, made it a fun project, not an engineering exam. This huge shift, we call it the Tamiya effect now. It's a classic example, really, of how designing for ease of use can totally flip a market on its head.
And they had those cool buggies too, right? Like the Hornet.
Exactly. Iconic stuff. The Hornet, the Grasshopper,
Yeah.
these character buggies. Plus, brilliant marketing, those glossy catalogs, TV ads, just triggered this massive wave of kids, teenagers pouring into the hobby, the average age. It just plummeted, dropped right down to maybe 12 to 25. It was RC's first real youthquake.
Okay, so Tamiya cracks it open with kits. What happens next? The 90s arrive and you start seeing ready-to-run models, RTRs. Was that another big shakeup?
Precisely. Yeah, the 90s brought a pretty significant split in the market. RTRs were all about instant gratification. Open the box, charge the battery, and go. Zero building skills needed. And that pulled in another huge chunk of the youth market, often even younger, say 8 to 14 maybe.
So you ended up with two groups almost.
Kind of, yeah. You had the casual RTR crowd, and then you still had the more dedicated kit builders, adults maybe 20 to 40, who were getting into the more advanced digital radios, competitive racing. It was almost like two parallel hobbies under the same RC banner.
Interesting. And then the 2000s brought even more tech, right? Like 2.4 gigahertz radios, no more frequency clips, and brushless motors, LiPo batteries, powerful stuff. How did that change the age dynamic again?
Well, that's where it gets intriguing, because those techs kind of pushed in two directions at once. The 2.4 gig radios made things way easier. No more interference worries, fewer crashes caused by radio glitches. So more accessible in that sense. But then brushless motors and LiPo batteries. I mean, incredible power, but also more complex. You had to understand programming speed controllers, handling volatile batteries.
LiPos could be tricky.
Very. So that raised the technical bar at the high end again. And this era, don't forget, is when the internet really took off for hobbies. Forums like rcgroups.com popped up, creating these super specialized niches. Like RC rock crawling really emerged then. And that tended to appeal to an older crowd, maybe 30 to 50. People into the technical challenge, the scale realism, the outdoor aspect, not just pure speed.
Okay, so fast forward to now, roughly 2010 to 2025. You're saying the hobby is really fragmented. What does that mean for the average age?
Yeah, fragmented is the word. And the idea of a single average age, it's almost meaningless today, really. You've got totally new niches. FPV drone racing, for example, first-person view. That pulls in a younger, very tech-savvy group, often 16 to 30. They're comfortable with complex digital gear, goggles, the whole setup. But then you have this other huge force. Nostalgia.
Ah, the Tamiya re-releases.
Exactly. Tamiya and others re-releasing those classic 80s kits. And who's buying them? Adults, often 40, 50, maybe even older. They're people reliving their childhood, but now they actually have the disposable income to buy all the kits they dreamed about. So you end up with these very distinct groups all coexisting. The drone racers, the scale crawler builders, the bashers just wanting speed and jumps, and these nostalgic kit builders.
Wow. So it's really gone full circle in a way, from those older engineers to the kids boom with Tamiya, and now it's this mix. You've got adults, often driven by nostalgia, holding significant spending power, but also these vibrant younger groups pushing the tech in new
The
directions.
cycle is definitely clear. Technology keeps changing the game, sometimes making it easier to get in, sometimes adding complexity, which shifts who gets involved and where.
So the takeaway isn't about finding one average hobbyist anymore. It's about embracing all that diversity. And, the fact that RC is still such a great hands-on way into science and tech, into STEM learning, that probably guarantees it'll just keep evolving, keep finding new ways to hook people, whether they're building or racing or crawling over rocks.